Just hold on a minute.
Yep. Okay, good morning, everybody. The March 27th, 2024 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet, and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. It is noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via the web. Commissioner Patel is excused, and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ramirez,
Here.
Commissioner Weller,
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Here.
Chair Safoff.
Here. Will the clerk also inform the commission of any guests that have joined today's meeting?
Yes, we have David Berryman from DOJ.
Great, thank you. Members of the public have the opportunity to provide written public comment to the commission for this meeting. Could the clerk please confirm that we received no public comment?
That is correct. We did not receive any this month.
Thank you. With that, let's move to the agenda. We have the director's report, and I wanted to note that Director Wells was unable to attend the meeting today. So Deputy Director Kai, Ty is doing the report for us today.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Safoff and commissioners. Today I have a team update, some lottery news, a sales update, and a few winner stories to share. Regarding team, our Chief Marketing Officer, Kathy Stromberg, retired last week, and I do have a message on behalf of Director Wells, who it was mentioned is out of office. Since joining OSL in May 2017, Kathy applied her private sector experience to help the agency develop initiatives and programs we use to do our work every day. Her impact was felt across the lottery during her tenure. I personally want to thank Kathy for her years of service and ensure she recognizes the work she's done has truly resulted in good things for Oregon. On behalf of Lottery, we wish Kathy the very best in her retirement and thank her for 7 years of public service. So on to lottery news, Problem Gambling Awareness Month. So March is National Problem Gambling Awareness Month. We like to remind everyone that Oregonians have free access to counseling and resources found on opgr.org. In 23, 2,765 calls were made to the helpline and 200 chats and texts came in for assistance. Since 1992, 1% of Oregon lottery profits, $137 million to date, has funded problem gambling treatment and prevention efforts. Legislative session. Legislative session adjourned this month with little impact to lottery operations. There's a memo in your materials on Old Bill's lottery tract, and legislators and agencies, of course, are looking ahead to the next session, and we will keep you updated as that work progresses. Now let's talk a little bit about Gallup. 95% of our team completed the annual Gallup Employee Engagement Survey, resulting in meeting this part of our team goal and bonus criteria for the year. Conducting the survey is a governor expectation and something we've been doing since 2022. We value employee input and recognize it's critical for making improvements through team action plans that result based on survey insights. And last but not least, on the food drive, last month, Director Wells talked about our support of the annual Governor's State Employee Food Drive. We are happy to share our team donated over $10,000 to provide over 30,000 meals. Thank you to our teammates and those who organized events and contributed to our overall success. On to the sales update. The St. Patrick's Day raffle sold out 5 days early. Overall, lottery sales are slightly up by almost $3 million compared to this time last year. Sales from the current Mega Millions jackpot roll-up, with a prize reaching more than $1 billion, closed the gap with last year's revenue since our last commission report. Also notable, 7 months after the end of the marketing campaign for Win for Life, the game's daily sales continued to display a lift over the pre-campaign sales level. Our Scratch It sales are even with last year, and Video Lottery is down slightly, 0.9% compared to this time last year. Sports betting turnover continues to be very strong, with the total amount wagered up about 35% compared to last year. And I will close this monthly report with a few winner stories. Donald J. of Corvallis likes to use significant numbers for Keno. At the China Delight restaurant near his home, he played his and his wife's dates of birth, the day they met, and their wedding anniversary. He hit the 8 spot and jackpot bonus, leading to a surprising $41,456 win. Heather D. of Salem likes to play scratchets and faithfully enters our second chance game. She discovered by email she won $250,000. She plans to pay off her car and save the rest for a down payment for a house. Genevieve and Steve H. are not regular lottery players, but decided to try their luck at Pioneer Pizza in Oregon City. A date night for the couple turned into a winning evening with a $16,912.85 jackpot on Big City 5's diamond. They plan to use the prize for a much-needed beach vacation. And with that, that concludes our report this month.
Thank you, Ty. Any questions or comments from the commission? Ty, I have one.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Wilcox. I just want to again thank the lottery employees for working so hard on these civic projects and helping the community. And I'm very impressed. Thanks again.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. I did have one question regarding one of the legislative matters that didn't pass. The matter that is looking at developing a definition for casino. I'm assuming we would be invited to any interim discussions, at least for information. And I'm wondering if I know that we tracked that legislation. Are we ready to participate in any interim discussions on that, if asked?
Absolutely. We are ready and have been included in conversations in addition to our awareness of that ongoing work by the committee. So their plan is to work towards that statutory definition for the next session.
Great. Would you make sure that the commission gets some periodic, at least, update on what's going on with that? That's seems to me a pretty critical aspect for the commission as to what happens with that.
Absolutely, we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, maybe we can move to the minutes of the previous commission meeting. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission in advance of today's meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on February 23rd, 2024 be approved as final as presented today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Weller,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Safoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed.
My hesitation there was because there were two very, very minor items within the minutes that I sent to Elisa, I believe, yesterday, which are not going to change in any significant manner. But the big question is in Director Wells' report last month, as shown in the minutes under F, 2020 Retailer Contract Amendment Exhibit 5. The last sentence there refers to the retailer contract will remain in full force and effect, and noted the Department of Justice has been reviewed and approved for legal sufficiency. I don't think the Department of Justice was reviewed. I think they reviewed the amendment to the contract.
Yes, I removed the word "been" in that.
Thank you.
So Commissioner Weller, are you fine with us approving the minutes going forward with that comment?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, for the record, the motion has passed. With that, let's move to the, excuse me, the financial report.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Monique.
Good morning, Chair Sathoff, Commissioners, Deputy Director Calandriello. For the record, my name is Monique Faber, Financial Reporting Manager for the Oregon Lottery. I am presenting during the CFO position vacancy. Today, we will go over the financial report for the month of February and year-to-date for fiscal year 2024. February financial statements include our third quarter DAS revenue forecast update. Revenue, prizes, commissions, and game vendor charges show revised budget numbers. Included in the operating statement are February net revenues of $116.1 million on a budget of $117.4 million, generating an unfavorable variance of $1.3 million. Net profit for the month is $75.3 million on a plan of $75.2 million, creating a difference of $8K favorable to budget. Net revenues year to date are $940.7 million on a budget of $933.7 million. This is $7.1 million favorable variance to budget. Net profits year to date are $595.6 million compared to a budget of $562.4 million, causing a favorable variance of $33.1 million. While a comprehensive variance analysis was provided to the commissioners and in the public meeting materials, I would like to mention the most noteworthy differences for February. Retailer commissions. Traditional commissions year to date are over budget by $2.2 million. Both the month and year-to-date overage is due to the budgeted commission rate being too low. The budgeted rate was 8.003%, while the actual annual rate is about 8.689%. The actual rate is following the previous year trends. Video commissions year-to-date are over budget by $2.3 million. The budgeted rate was 1.775%. The actual rate is higher at 1.793%. This created a negative variance of $1.9 million. With the revised revenue forecast, year-to-date sales are $18.7 million more than budget. This is an additional $332K negative variance. Game vendor charges. There are multiple offsetting transactions creating an overall favorable variance year-to-date for all three products, video, traditional, and sports. This includes an accounting error for traditional GVC recorded in March totaling $182,447, but should have been expensed in February. The budget methodology for all products needs to be reviewed in preparation for our FY25 budget. Tickets. February had an unfavorable variance of $84K, which is explained mostly by the stronger than expected sales in scratches. Year to date, there is a favorable variance of $718K. The budget for expense was not distributed through the months using the expense recognition timing. This is causing a variance that needs further in-depth analysis to see how expenses will compare to budget at year end. And lastly, depreciation. In February's operating statements, we observe unfavorable depreciation variances for both direct and indirect for the month, and particularly notable in year-to-date indirect expenses of $1 million. Year-to-date direct depreciation has a favorable variance of $690K. The primary contributor to this trend is GASB 96, subscription-based IT arrangements, resulting in a significant $1.8 million unfavorable variance in depreciation. However, this is offset by favorable variances, including $572K from timing differences in VLT purchases, $293K anticipated from the state data center, delays in vehicle purchases of $278K, and $268K expected for the building security system replacement. I'll pause there just to see if there's any questions around the operating statement.
I just have one question around the modernization investment spending. So that positive variance continues to increase each month. Is there an expectation that that'll close to the budget, or will that variance remain for the rest of the year?
So modernization, so that's one of those things where one of the things that we're looking at, we have certain contracts that contracting has taken longer than expected. So I know some of the modernization work we've shifted to I'll say FY 25. But in general, can you help me? Where are you looking at? I want to
I'm
make sure
looking
I'm
at the
addressing.
month to date. Yeah,
Month
the
to
year
date.
to date operating statement.
Okay, let me just pull that up. So I'm.
Right before the net
Oh,
profit
yes,
line.
yes. Yeah, so to me, that's really kind of our ongoing struggle of really, when we budget, there's a lot of unknowns, as like I said, around contracting, around specifically when certain bodies of work that we're able to actually kick off and complete the work. So it's really contract by contract or project by project specific. But I think with all that, sometimes what I've seen in the years that we've been working on modernization, what we always or plan or we hope to be completing in one fiscal year, there can be circumstances, right, that shift some of that. And some of the key things that I think lead into that is, like I say, contracting and the timing that it takes to complete that work, as well as resource availability, and just the timing of our roadmap, right, over the years between when work is planned and when we have the other competing priorities as well that are going on in the lottery. So I think all of those are attributors, but that means that it tends to be sometimes that we have a higher budget than we actually end up spending throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I bring it up is it was an issue last year, and then we were told, okay, we're going to pare back so that we have a better chance of actually accomplishing what, and it seems we're on that same kind of track again.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think it's something, I think this year we did still see that. I think we had a couple major D365. I'm saying within FY 24, we had D365 and obviously RPM were two of our largest efforts that created a lot of that we focused on, I would say, organizationally. But yes, I think it's one of those things that we're learning as an organization that is when you throw, not throw, but when you earmark a large amount of funds, right, into such a large effort that's going across multiple years, I would say that as an organization, that is something that we're still learning and growing and learning how to best estimate what we think we're going to be able to establish, year after year. But there's so many variables in that. It's hard for me to speak to, you kind of have to break it down to project by project, but I would say that's something that we are attempting to improve on, and it is definitely a focus for this year as in FY 25's planning as well, because we realize we still have a long ways to go there.
All right, thank you.
I have some along the same lines, so it might be redundant, but with Commissioner Ramirez's question, but. And by the way, I do want to say that the summary notes are very helpful. Appreciate that. Basically, though, the summary notes say that we have a favorable variance of 33 million. Most of that is not revenue. Most of that appears to be, I don't want to say underspending, but the issues I hear are we're allocating the budget. We're still having difficulty allocating the budget across the fiscal year accurately, and then lower than planned costs. I think what Commissioner Ramirez is getting at, and I'm going to get at the same thing, is that we're getting down to the end of our fiscal year. We also do an adjustment at mid-year. It feels to me like we need to start addressing some of these. We used to call it timing, but the issue of we plan for costs, those costs are not spent, and then we show a favorable variance, but it's a favorable variance against a budget that we're not spending. So it feels that way. I don't know that that's accurate, but I might suggest that that all of you think about some way of dealing with that in our next meeting. At least talk to us a little bit about how we're going to adjust that. As I said, I think we're at the point already of almost nearing our end of our fiscal year. So some of those issues should have taken care of themselves, or there are structural issues that need to be dealt with. Okay?
Yes, sounds good. Thank you. And just so to say to you all, commissioners, that is something that we have really since January are starting to have these discussions internally, and we're looking to address and make changes that will benefit the entire organization and provide better and more accurate budget, to actual information truly driven by the budget. So to me, a lot of it starts at the budgeting level, and that is something that we are definitely addressing because we realize that this has not made for the most useful information for your team. And there are several, I will kind of repeat this, there are definitely, I think, one thing that we will be changing for next year that I will mention here, just that I think with part of our allocation methodology across what we have been doing, of course, is 12 months, but our suggestion, one big thing would be to help to look at the variances on a quarterly basis, because of the fact that if somebody can tell us, hey, in Q3, we expect to spend this, we in accounting obviously have to take that even further and divide that then across 3 additional months within that quarter. So that is one big avenue that we are looking at, because that being able to pin people down monthly and say, tell us, when are you exactly expecting to spend this, is difficult. And I will also say, the idea of cash versus accrual is it's a big challenge in our organization for people to know, when are we actually, is the cash going to go out the door versus when are we actually going to accrue it, which is 2 separate things in account, it goes back to a bit of accounting treatment versus GAAP. And we're also trying to figure out from a classification standpoint, how do we handle some of this so that because some of these variances aren't true variances, they're classification. And I've mentioned this, I think 2 months ago. It's a matter of, in one area, you could be looking at an expense account and it may look favorable or unfavorable, but truly that is, let's say, capital work that we then, a portion of that expense that we shifted in essence and capitalized it, right? And so we're creating classification problems that don't really exist, but I think we need to help everyone, we try to explain that, but I think there's a better way of doing that. And most certainly, I think the best way might be the way that we account for it behind the scenes so that it's not visible to users of our financial statements. But like I said, there's more to come there, but I did want you to get kind of an understanding of the things that we are discussing and some improvements that we think we can make.
Okay. One more of a nit comment on the notes. Your initial summary of the February 2024 variance analysis, on the second paragraph, you end by saying that there's a favorable variance of 33 million plus. It would really be helpful in that summary paragraph, rather than having to go down and break it out as to where did the variance actually arrive. I'm used to seeing something saying primarily driven by, so that 33 million, as I said, I don't think that's revenue. It's mostly other items. And if you could identify what's primarily driving the favorable variance, that I think would help the commission understand how we're doing. Okay.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
do a better job of that too.
Nope, thank you. Listen, these are notes and stuff are vastly improving. It's incremental improvement all the time. So really appreciate that. With that, oh, I'm sorry, we were asking questions. So Monica, are you done? I don't think you're quite done with your report. Is that correct?
Yeah. At this point, I just want to move on to the balance sheet and just offer that and ask if there's any questions on that statement.
Okay, hearing no questions on that. Should we move to the resolution? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the financial statements?
I move that the Oregon State Lottery financial statements for the month ended February 29th, 2024 be approved for the record as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Weller,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Saffoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. With that, unless there are other staff comments or anything of that nature, The last item on our agenda is commissioner communications or any other business. The commissioners or anyone, Deputy Director Kayandrea, if anyone has anything, we'll go to that. If not, I think we had a short agenda today. All right, hearing nothing. This completes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled on Friday, April 26th. I want to thank you all for attending today's meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you.
Everyone.